I know y'all wanted to visit with me about a few issues, and I certainly wanted to come speak on a couple of things just to clear up some of the confusion. So what I'd like to do is kind of start with some of these hot item issues that have been floating out there and at least clear them up. So let's start with DeAnthony. Over the holidays, I got a message and a phone call from his brother, and of course it was a little bit of a surprise. I'd never met the father, and so our typical response in these, as you guys know, is that we don't release guys, especially in their first year, out of the NLI, and certainly not to competitors. But we felt like at least the initial emotion of it, we should at least start the conversation by carving some exceptions to allow them to get home. And I want you guys to know that the most important concern for me is the welfare of our student athletes. That's number one. And I also have a responsibility to Tennessee. And so I needed some one-on-one dialogue with DeAnthony, because these are big issues. They're complex, they're emotional, and like every issue that we deal with our players, it's no different than a parent and a son trying to talk through, sort through the heart of the problem, and help him make a good decision that's the right decision for his future. And over the last 5 weeks, or however long, or over the last 2 weeks, I guess, I've had some real good one-on-one conversations since all that hit out there on the social media. And I'm very comfortable carving out an exception for him. And when he makes his request, which is not until today because our offices have been closed, so that's another reason that has been a delay in releasing him where he wants to go, close to home, to get back to his father. So there was a lot of confusion on what had happened there, and that's why I just wanted to clear that up. So I'm really supportive of DeAnthony. He's got a great future as a person and as a player. And he's been very mature through this thing during a tough time and an emotional time. And once we started the one-on-one dialogue, it's been very comforting for both of us. So I'm wishing him well there when that time comes. Coaches, let's jump to the coaches issue. Of course, it's that time of year. As we know every year, I think I was counting today, 7 schools in the SEC alone are going through coordinator changes. So that's kind of the nature of our industry. And I've said all along that when people are wanting your coaches, despite what a lot of people think, we're obviously doing something right. All 3 of those guys came from the Pacific Northwest, so it was a chance for them to get back home. And I understand it, and I really appreciate the work they gave us the last 2 years. They put their heart and soul in this program, and the program is significantly better today than it was when we all came here 22 months ago, and those guys played a big part of it. So, like any coaching change, we use it as an opportunity to get better, and that's what we're going to do here, because as much of the good things as those guys brought, there's always areas where we can improve, and so we'll begin that search to try to get the right fit, and we're in the early stages of that. All right, now, third issue that I want to visit with is just some big picture recruiting. As you guys know, I really can't talk specifically on recruiting, but I do want to address some of the challenges that all of our schools are facing in the SEC right now. And as we all know, the months leading up to signing day, it's really a journey for families. It's a journey for schools to try to find the right fit where the school and the player and the families, this is going to stick. It's going to be a great fit. And the most important thing for me in recruiting has always been honest and frequent communication with the recruit and the family. Nothing's more important than that. All right, now, here's the challenges we're facing that this year that's a little bit new given the restrictions that we've put on ourselves on signing. Number one is academic risk. In the past, when you get your midterm grades here, which is a great indicator of whether a recruit can qualify or not, it was okay if he was a big risk because you could sign him, and if he didn't qualify, you could help him. You could help him go to a junior college. You could help him go maybe to another school and get him back to reach his dreams. And you can't do that anymore. So when there's a high academic risk at the midterm, the communication has got to be that the limits that have been placed on us prevent us from continuing to help. And that's unfortunate. And it's one of the reasons that, of course, our coaches were so opposed to it. And then the second thing is trying to have continued dialogue on having the right fit. Because, again, if you find yourself in a position where you're overloaded at a position because you've extended some offers, you could delay enrollment in the past. And when you have 25 and you can't go over, the delayed enrollment thing is kind of out of the picture there. So there's a lot of challenges that we're facing on that, and I think at the end of the day, I'm really excited about all the interest that we're having, again, for our second full recruiting class is out there, but I can't really talk in specifics on that. Going forward, I was going to talk to you guys next week on our roster. So I just don't want to go down that path until the players are back as far as all the issues on our team. But I can tell you this, I've never been more excited about an off season in all my coaching career, because as disappointed as I am about how the season ended, I'm equally optimistic about our team and our program heading into next year. First time since I've been here, we have 19 starters returning. We have considerably more experience going into the next season than we've ever had. We got a group of young people who I've been talking to over the holidays and met with before we broke, who believe in Tennessee, they believe in the program, they believe in our future, and they're fired up about going to work next season. So I'm excited about it. It's allowed us to really sharpen our focus as coaches. We got a great off-season planned, and that's all our focus is going to be when the players come back, is the next 8 weeks of work. So those are some – I've spoken my piece on some of these issues, and now you guys can tell me what you want to talk about.
Derek, have you started the process yet, either informally or formally, with the coaching thing, as far as talking to anybody? Or anything?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm certainly. You start gathering information, and of course, it's Tennessee. It's unbelievable the amount of interest that coaches have wanting to come here, and I think they understand that it's a great time to come to Tennessee. It's certainly a much better time than it was 2 years ago when we came to Tennessee. And all the coaches out there know that. I mean, especially on defense. You know, we finished 28th in the country on defense, and we got 9 starters returning, and we got a great mid-year signee to boot. So, you know, that's pretty appealing.
You mentioned as far as replacing coaches, you don't have a timetable, but how important is it for you to get guys in place before national signing?
I think that's a fair statement that, you know, of course, the quicker you can bring them in, but the most important thing is getting the right guys who can help you win next year. And so, you know, that's the delicate balance in all this, Jimmy, is, you know, you want guys quickly, but you can't compromise, you know, what it's going to look like on the field next year just to get the national signing day. So that's the challenge. It's hard.